Peace be upon all of you. Thank you for coming today on a Tuesday evening, on a work night, to show your solidarity with the Palestinian people. I come today as a Palestinian youth, a bruised, beaten, brutalized, marginalized youth. A Palestinian youth that the Zionists in Palestine and here in the US are deliberately trying to undermine and destroy. Trying to destroy the main asset of the Palestinian people, the Palestinian youth. As we've seen with the brutal murder of our martyr, Muhammad Abu Khder, and more than 1,300 other Palestinian children in the last 14 years, that Israel is deliberately demoralizing and cleansing the Palestinian population of its most valuable asset. Well, I have a message for you. You can try to arrest us and we will still be here. You can try to detain us and we will still be here. You can take our fathers and mothers away from us and we will still be here. You can destroy our homes and we will still be here. You can steal our land and we will still be here. You can destroy our farms and our crops and we will still be here. You can try to erase our memories of Palestine, but we will never forget and we will still be here. Long live Palestine and a free Palestine.
Second on the list, I have here Shirna. She is with Israel Divestment Campaign. Can you please just wait a little bit? Let's just listen to what she has to say. Shirna from Israel Divestment Campaign.
Thank you all. Thanks all for being here today. I want to say that even though we're here protesting collective punishment, this is nothing new. The Palestinians have been experiencing collective punishment for the past 66 years.
The mic's not on, sure.
Those who live in Jerusalem and the West Bank, including Jerusalem, experience it daily. The 1,000th death toll is mounting today, but it's not unusual. Today is for massive bombing. But almost daily, the children of Gaza are dying from malnutrition and lack of medicine. The Israeli murder of Palestinian children is not unusual. Since 2000, 132 have been killed. The massive raids and arrests in the West Bank, including Jerusalem, are not unusual. But in this most recent frenzy, the Israelis have invaded 2,400 homes. Who knows how many settlers have also been attacking? And over 500 Palestinians have been arrested, including some, like Summer Isawi, who has been re-arrested. It's important that we're here today to protest the ongoing collective punishment of Palestinians. But we have to remember the bigger picture. That Israeli crime against the Palestinians did not start yesterday or in 1967, but in 1948. We cannot just demonstrate. That's good. It's important, but we cannot just demonstrate. We have to be proactive and be doing everything we can on an ongoing basis to fight for justice for Palestine. Boycott Israel. Boycott Israel. Boycott Israel. Divest from apartheid. Divest from apartheid. Divest from apartheid. Divest from apartheid. Free Palestine. Free Palestine.
Thank you, Shirna. Thank you very much. Next on the list, I have Esti. She's from Jewish Voice for Peace. Let's hear what she's going to say.
Thanks to everybody for coming out. On behalf of Jewish Voice for Peace, I want to say that we mourn the death of Mohammed Abu Khder and call for justice for him, his cousin Tarek, who thankfully is Jerusalem and for their families. And we call upon the U.S. government to see to it that he is protected, which it is their duty to do. Muhammad was the 10th Palestinian killed by the IDF or Israeli extremists in the last 2 weeks, which highlights why we're all here today, why we must speak out, speak up, speak the truth, so that we can change the conditions that make such unthinkable violence possible in the first place. As we all know, collective punishment and these horrific acts of violence are not isolated incidents. And the Jewish extremists, vigilantes, IDF soldiers, and police officers who perpetrate these crimes are not bad apples. They act in it with impunity under an unjust, unequal, undemocratic system of government. Palestinians are subjected to home demolitions, checkpoints, arrests, and indefinite uncharged incarceration, not randomly, not occasionally, but daily and systematically. The Israeli government is endangering lives on both sides and fomenting and feeding off an atmosphere of vengeance and racism. The Israeli government has continued to show little regard for either Israeli or Palestinian life. The pronouncements of cabinet ministers, IDF officials, and Prime Minister Netanyahu make it clear that revenge, not justice, is their main agenda. The media in both Israel and the United States have thus far failed to offer critical reporting that can help readers understand the content of occupation or the degree of violence inflicted by the Israeli government's escalation. But together, we can change the narrative, and we have to, if we want to end the occupation and injustice. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Esty. Next, I have on the list the Palestinian American Congress. It was supposed to be to say that their work, but I'm gonna let Jeanine. She's one of the youngest speakers here. She's gonna read the speech for Palestinian American Congress.
The Palestinian American Congress would like to thank you all for coming today. It was an awesome response from the residents of Southern California. Actually, participating in such a demonstration is our duty. This is the least we can do to support the oppressed. All of us are supposed to stand up and show the whole world that we will not tolerate the collective punishment exercised by the Israeli government against the people occupied by Palestine. What is collective punishment? It is easy to give hundreds of examples. It happens each and every day in occupied Palestine when Israel demolishes a family house just because one member of the family was accused of doing something. It happens each and every day when Israel arrests more than 700 people looking for those kidnapped free Israeli teenagers. Also, when Israel prevents the whole Palestinian people from accessing the holy places in Jerusalem as a response to this kidnapping. We are also here to say, stop targeting our kids, stop beating them, whether they are U.S. citizens or not, stop killing them. Muhammad al-Awada, may his soul rest in peace, was just the last case. However, it is well known that one Palestinian kid is killed each 3 days by Israel since the year 2000. The collective punishment has to stop. Arresting minors has to stop. Right away. Putting our kids in jail in solitary confinement, beating them, torturing them, horrifying them, has to stop. We all know the story of Tariq al-Awada. He is an average 15-year-old kid who was abducted by the Israeli police, beaten with maximum brutality, taken into custody, then put into silent home arrest for doing nothing, literally nothing. Finally, we are here to immediately demand our government accountability. To stop funding this guilty Israeli killing machine. Stop sending $7 million a day to Israel. At least this money shouldn't be unconditional. it hard for the U.S. to pressure Israel not to use the money to kill innocent people in Palestine with their tax money? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amy. Thank you. Next, I have Brother Ali Abu Ni'meh from the Electronic Intifada. Give him a big round of applause. He just came from traveling.
Thank you, everyone. I'll be very brief. I'm really happy to be in LA. When I arrived, I went across I went from there. I wanted to talk to some of the people on the other side and hear their opinion. I was talking to them and I was assaulted by the police, handcuffed. I was able to negotiate my release. And so I'm really happy to be with you right now. The reason we're here is to stand in solidarity with Palestinians who are under attack now. 8 children were killed today in Gaza. This follows the killing of Mohammed Abu Khdeir, the brutal beating of Tariq Abu Khdeir, the sniper killings of Nadim Nawara and Mohammed Abu Tahir on Nakba Day. All of these are our children. And they've been killed by a state armed by the United States that says the difference between us and our enemies, this is what Israel says, the difference between us and our enemies is that we sanctify life and they glorify death. How is it then that those who sanctify life are busy killing people in Gaza? How is it that those who sanctify life shoot dead our children and there are no consequences? How is it that those who sanctify life are told that killing our children, bombing our cities, our communities is self-defense, whereas those people who have been thrown off their land, who have been ethnically cleansed, have no right to self-defense? So, I'm still a little bit shaken from what happened. I won't say much more now, but to say that we have to maintain our solidarity, maintain the high ground, fight against racism, fight against this violence, demand the United States stop supporting Israeli crimes, support, boycott, divestment, and sanctions. Here in LA, you have fantastic groups, fantastic campaigns. If this is your first time here, don't let it be the last time. Let this be the beginning of an involvement in the struggle for justice in Palestine. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Ali. Thank you very much. Next, we have answer. What was the Imam? Sister Imam.
Good evening, brothers and sisters. My name is Iman. I'm a Palestinian refugee, and I'm a member of the Answer Coalition here in Los Angeles. The recent attacks on Palestine aren't because of 3 boys who were kidnapped. This is only a fraction of the everyday genocide that Israel carries out on the Palestinian people every single day. The recent uprisings that are happening are also part of the ongoing resistance, though. So long as there is occupation, there will be resistance. And so long as the U.S. continues to fund the occupation, the people here in the U.S. will stay in the street and we will bring an end to the Israeli apartheid state. Thank you for coming out today. Free, free Palestine!
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 Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Iman. Next, we have Veterans for Peace, Brother Mike.
You know what group that was before?
I think across the street they think we got a little tired, but let's let them know that we didn't get tired. Free, free Palestine!
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 Thank you for coming out today, sisters and brothers. I'm with the Answer Coalition and also a member of Veterans for Peace. And I'm, I learned about U.S. imperialism firsthand when I was 19 years old in that criminal war in Iraq. And that showed me a lot about U.S. foreign policy. And I just want to say that veterans like myself are here in solidarity with you and with Palestine and raising consciousness against racism, against imperialism inside the U.S. military. And so, I also know, and a lot of us know, that Israel is bombing Gaza right now, but Israel never bombs anyone alone. They never bomb Gaza alone. They never occupy the West Bank alone. They never kick people out of their homes alone. They do it with the U.S. government, with the financing of the U.S. government, with the political support of the U.S. government, with the weapons from the U.S. government. This is not an Israeli war on Gaza. This is not an Israeli genocide. This is for the U.S. war on Gaza, a U.S.-Israeli war, and that's why we're here, fighting right in the heart of the beast, right in the heart of U.S. imperialism. And if we can fight them here, that means so much for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And, I've also been to Gaza. I went to Gaza City in early 2009, right after Operation Cast Lead. And I'll tell you what I saw in Gaza. I saw not a single building, not a single civilian building that didn't have bomb damage or bullet holes in it. Every single building. I didn't see a single person who didn't have a story about a family member that was killed, who couldn't show me scars on their body from shrapnel and from bullets. I saw children, dozens of children who were amputees. And when we went on that humanitarian aid mission, you know what we had to smuggle into Gaza? You know what we had to do to break the law to get into Gaza? Wheelchairs. We had to bring wheelchairs because Israel would not allow in wheelchairs for the hundreds of amputees that they created by bombing civilian targets. That is the type of government we are dealing with. That is the type of cruelty that they will resort to. And that's why we have to fight them. And when I got into Gaza, I expected, after being through such a horror, after being through such a massacre, that I would get into Gaza and see people who had looked like they had been through a horror and been through a massacre. But when I stepped into Gaza, I saw the opposite. I saw people standing strong. I saw people waving their flags. I saw people being loud. I saw people who were undefeated, who were still fighting, who were unwavered, and that's why we have to be with them today. And with what's going on right now, when that siege on Gaza started, when the siege of the West Bank started, when they were raiding people's homes, when they were mass arresting people, when they were whipping up racist hysteria, were people running away scared? Were Palestinians running away scared? No, they were in the streets. They were facing off against them. That is the spirit that we are in here today. We are fighting alongside them, and together we can fight and stop imperialism and stop Zionism also.
I'm here on behalf of the Palestinian American Women's Association of Southern California, PAWA, and I'm standing here with you as a daughter of Palestinian refugees. I was born and raised in California, and I would just like to say that on behalf of PAWA and on behalf of my family of refugees from all over the world, that we call for an end to collective punishment of the Palestinian people. And we condemn anyone who sympathizes with Israel and with Zionism in their collective punishment of the Palestinian people. And we mourn not only Muhammad Abu Khdeir, but a Palestinian family of 10, a whole family of 10. The Al-Dalu family in Gaza today were pulled out of their home, charred. They were completely killed. That included 4 children. This is just one Palestinian family. And we call on Israel to release all children and political prisoners in Israeli jails. And we call an end to the occupation, and we call an end to the racist system of apartheid.
Right.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Do you see those people on the other side of the street over there? Yeah! Well, you know what? We're not here for them. We're here for the Israeli consulate. Everybody turn your backs to those people over there. Let's turn our backs to those people over there. Let's turn those backs. They mean nothing to us. They're nothing. Face the Israeli consulate. Y'all ready to go? Y'all ready to go?
Yeah!
Free, free Palestine!
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 Long live Palestine!
Long live Palestine!
Long live Israel!